Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the revived Movie Combat. Tonight, we talk about VHS. Man, what a movie. It is you haven't watched it, but you don't care about spoilers, that's fine. Round one. It is round one. For those that are new, or that are that just forgot how Movie Combat works, this is how it works. Every single week, we will be doing, and this is a new thing now, the new rules and old rules melding into one. This is how things are going to go down. So every week, we will go live on twitch.tv/Primal_Target. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, well, join us live and you can be in the discussion. If you're watching the video form of this, you can see over here, there's chat going on. Foxy's here, Preacher's here, and we're going to discuss VHS, whether there be questions, whether there be really things that request me to take my hat off. Dude, do you not know how hard it was to find a hat? I had to. All right, we're going Pokemon Go. We're going Team Mystic here as I have switched my hat. But this is the live podcast that you can listen to over on podcasts wherever they are, or on YouTube. You can watch the video version of it. I'm not sure how our whole podcast thing is gonna go, but I like audio wise, but video wise, it will be over there on YouTube to watch this chunk here. So I thought you were wearing two hats. I was not wearing two. What? Yeah. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about the movie VHS. In this season, we'll be discussing the found footage, which is kind of, it kind of fits with a revival season, with it being lost but found season. It is the lost but found season, and we are watching VHS as our first movie. I decided, you know what? We're going to do our fun trivia facts about, not facts, we're just fun little gimmicky things that I decided to keep track of as we watched the movie. So, with that said, every single movie I will be counting how many times these five things happen in the entire movie. So, 1, does the camera get used for sex? They just have to, and at a point, we eventually just got attempt at sex as well, because it just got to a point. So that is a category. How many times does the camera change hands? So that anytime the main camera gets given to another person, or somebody has now a camera, that counts as a exchange of hand. How many times does the camera get dropped, which is a trope that is always in these found footage movies. So I figured, let's do that. How many times does the footage get malfunctioned? So anytime there's like a little glitch or whatever, whenever that happens, that is like, that counts. And how many people die? How many people die? So we're going to go, and these are just based off my own numbers, but I am curious to ask the audience here that is live here on twitch.tv/Primal_Target, shameless plug. How many times do you think the camera was used for sex? How many times do you think that happened? We'll come back to that as we kind of go through the movie and whatnot. So the movie VHS is an anthology movie. It is a movie that does not consist of one entire storyline. It consists of multiple, and it is segmented out to then compile into one giant long movie, which is just a 90-minute whatever. And that is what happens in this movie. There is a mainline story that consists of these assholes that go around trying to get money for whatever they can by selling a videotape that they were told is in this abandoned house. So these guys decide to rally up, and they go into a van and they drive down, or into a car, and they drive to this old person's house that they think is abandoned, or he's senile. One of the two. They go into this house, and as they're doing that, it turns out that hey, the guy died, is what they think, but we'll get to that later. So they decide, you know what, we're gonna look for this tape that is supposed to be worth a lot of money. Essentially, they have this bounty to go and find a tape in this house and then sell it to the highest bidder. Is kind of how they're going for it. They don't know what tape they're looking for. They're just looking for a tape. So they tell one of the guys to sit down and keep an eye on this guy, the guy sitting in the chair, who they presume is dead, and they will get to him. You know, make sure he doesn't do anything. So the guy that has to sit watch decides, you know what? I'm not going to be bored. So he picks up one of the random VHS tapes and he puts it in. And that is when our story then gets stopped and paused to then continue another story. I'm going to load up the movie here, not for you to watch, as I'll, for copyright purposes. But as I'm doing that, let's take a look at Preacher. Is that your prediction? Is that your guess of how many times there is a sex scene in VHS? Just as a question there. There's ads. Obviously, it's Peacock. That was for another question. Oh, okay. You say once. Foxy says once. Preacher says 5. How many I counted was 4 times, and that is how I counted 4. And it doesn't necessarily mean like nudity. That is the thing. It has to be. I counted how many times it was either used for sex or in the attempt to use for sex. That's how many times I counted it. So it wasn't necessarily any time I saw some boobies. And I will tell you, boobies are in this movie. There's a lot of times you will be seeing several in this, several pairs in this one. You even see a dick. That's one time. You see that once. So, there's something for everybody in this one. I don't know why they do it multiple times when it's horror. Like, yeah, I mean, that's what you get with cheap horror movies, and especially anthologies. Which anthology movie, you're getting multiple different directors and casts and script writers and things like that to then tell a long story. So you can get kind of the same tropes of a horror movie. Horror movies consist of a sex scene in every horror movie, mostly. Thrillers can get away with it. Some don't do it. But horror movies, especially slashers, or if someone's dying in that movie in a bloody and very not so great way, there more than likely was a sex scene at some point in time in that movie. Did that scene include the one chick that turned out to be lesbian and they just made out? No. So you did make it pretty far into the movie. See, Preacher, I thought you had made it only like in the beginning of the movie. So you made it like halfway through the movie. Like, or a little bit more than that. He said an hour. Yeah, but when you say an hour, it's like, did you? But, I get it. Yeah, though, so once we'll get through, dude, there is so many ads. There was like 180 seconds of ads. Fresh, how's it going? At least an hour. That's good. Yeah, so you got the concept of that it is an anthology movie, but, yeah, so as long as you got to that point, because I thought you stopped like in the beginning, like the very beginning when the douchebags were still on screen. I thought that's as far as you got. I didn't know you actually made it about an hour. Not too bad, Fresh, not too bad. Did you finish VHS, the movie here? Don't worry, we got about 20 seconds. I'm going to like skim through the movie as we're like talking through it. You did not? Okay, well, don't worry. We're going to discuss it here. So let's see here. About 15 seconds. I'm watching a Big Ten Saturday night commercial. So apparently that's pretty important for me to know about. Miami, Ohio versus whoever they're facing off. Okay, let's see here. Yep, so. Yeah, and these assholes, they essentially pull that girl's shirt up in the very beginning of the movie. I'm just trying to figure out what the first tape was. That's kind of where I'm like trying to get to. Ah, yes. Okay, so the first movie is, or the first tape is the guy wearing the glasses. And so that whole shtick, it was interesting because, and I remember the first time I watched, yeah, I was pretty sure that was yeah, it is that one. The first time I watched this, the gal in this one freaked me out. Her eyes are so ginormous. I thought they used a filter. That's just how big her eyes are. So, but yeah, no, she. So essentially, the first movie or the first tape is these three bros are trying to get get tape, a sex tape of a guy, having sex with a random chick from a bar. So they got buy some glasses with a camera in the center so that they can get this sort of perspective, and then they'll sell it online and get money for it. So as they're doing this, they find a drunk girl that's willing to like join them. But then there's this weird girl that really likes the cameraman. And so they decide, you know what? Oh, okay, she'll join us and whatever. So they take her back to the hotel that they had rented out. And as they're in that room, the guy, one of the bros, decides, oh, I'm gonna have sex with this one girl, and then she passes out. And so the other guy, one of the other bros, is like, dude, you can't do that now because now that's statutory. And so they're like, all right, no, dude, shut up, blah 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 blah. And so, the first bro decides, oh, I'm gonna steal Glasses' girl, and I'll have sex with her. And so that's what happens. Like he starts to attempt to do that, and the big-eyed girl is like, wait, what's going on? And then she kind of goes with it a little bit, and then all of a sudden, she bites the one of the guys, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And it turns out she doesn't seem like she's a regular woman. She seems like she's a little bit different. And she starts chewing the crap out of people. And by the end of it, she finally Glasses decides, I'm going to leave because I got to get out of here after his two bros die by getting gnawed on. Also, one of the bros gets his dick ripped off in this movie. So that was kind of crazy. But anyway, so Glasses escapes, and as he's escaping, he falls down the stairs and breaks his wrist, which prevents him from standing up, because that's what happens. And then the big-eyed girl follows down the stairs, Glasses, and there's a close-up shot of her face, like, split, and it's like you can see like teeth from her forehead down to her nose. It's insane, and she's weird. Anyway, she starts to realize, oh wait, Glasses, you don't like me? You don't like me? And then she starts to cry in the corner like a witch from Left 4 Dead. And so Glasses goes, this is my opportune time. I need to get the hell out of here. So he opens the door to get out, and he gets out of there, and out of this like stairwell, and he starts running, and he's like banging on the windows of like, please help, get me out of here, da 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 da, I need to leave. And then the people that are like in the office of the hotel are like, go away, you're psycho, as he's like bleeding through his wrist because it's like snapped. And then he sees two guys at a truck, and he runs over to them, and he's like, hey, please help me, please help me. And then all of a sudden he gets swooped, picked up, and carried off into the sky. Turns out she's like some vampire, like, I don't know, harpy lady. And then the glasses fall off, and you assume that he's gone. So that's the first tape. That is the first tape how they kick things off there. Vampire, demon, yeah, that's kind of what we're going to. Horror movie will always have those that can get up but won't. Yeah, exactly. Where he's like, but like wrist, yeah, it's not like if he snapped his ankle, that would have been one thing. Nothing happened. He just fell down the stairs and he broke his wrist. Like that was all that happened. That was weird. So anyway, that's pretty much the first. That's the first one, and then we come back, and we're back to the douches that are trying to find this tape, and so they continue doing that. I'm just kind of skipping through here. But before we go into our second tape, because now I found out what the other one was. Next tape, or next question, in the next category of random stuff. How many times does the camera change hands? So this is not, oh, every time it changes hands. The camera needs to be given to somebody else, and another human is now, or, another person is now holding the camera. It can't be just like, we switch to one person, then we switch back to the same person. It's not those counts. It's how many times does a person hold a camera. That's how many people hold a camera. That's what we're going. That's what we're counting. It could be the same camera. It could be multiple. I'll let you guys guess, and then I'll tell you my count of how many. Again, these aren't factual. I just counted off the top of my head as I was watching the movie, so I could be completely wrong. But anyway. All right, so the next one is after we've done watching the douches look for this videotape, we come back, and another guy is watching another tape, and the tape is a home movie, looks like, of this couple. It's a boyfriend and girlfriend, I would assume, and they're on some sort of road trip, and they're in some dystopian, like, weird area. And it was mostly in the one where a couple is in Arizona. Yeah, okay, so they're in Arizona. Yeah, because I remember towards the end of this, they are deciding whether or not to go to Vegas, and so that was it. But Preacher says 5, and Foxy says 7 or 8. So we'll get to that number after this here in just a second. So in this one, it is a bit easier to explain. Not a lot goes on in this one, but it is a relatively decent little short. So it starts off with the girlfriend filming, and she's just, hey, blah, 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 this is supposed to be a memento of our trip and whatever, this, that, and the other deal. And they kind of, they have a little fun, and they're just looking at stuff. They go to a little small town. They see a horse or a donkey, and they're kind of just perusing. And then they go to this old hotel. Very, like, it's like side road, not a Holiday Inn. It is doors opening to the road kind of place. It was an interesting one, but not scary. Not scary, but interesting. Yeah, exactly. It was not scary, but interesting. So they start to get, Motel 6 is what I would say. Motel 6, Super 8 kind of thing. Travel lodge. So they're going to, they're just chilling and talking. And as they're kind of in the room and talking about what they're going to do the next day or whatever, they see this woman is walking outside. She's like just walking back and forth. Doesn't seem like she's really going anywhere or like on anything. She just is walking outside, and you're like, that's kind of weird. And the guy off camera goes down there and talks to her. And as and then in the next scene, the girlfriend asks the boyfriend, hey, what happened down there? Like, explain what happened. And he's like, well, I talked to her. She seemed like she was wanting to go someplace the next morning, but wasn't in a rush. And it's like 2 a.m. And he's like, but what's weird is if she needs to leave the next morning, why didn't she just wait to see people getting into cars to ask them? And instead she's asking people at like 2 or 3 a.m. Kind of weird, right? And then he says, one of the lines is like, she didn't seem like she wasn't carrying anything, or she didn't have anything in her hands, but there was something about her that felt like intimidating. Like, that was kind of what he said. So that was kind of weird. And so after she done filming this, she's like, okay, let's go to bed. So they go to bed, and then the camera turns back on, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Why is the camera on? And then you see the perspective is this other person filming the boyfriend and girlfriend in the bed. And you're like, wait a minute, there is no third person. Who is this third person? And then the person decides to, walk around and start to. She steal. It's a girl because you can see in a mirror, and we presume is the girl that was from outside, and it now has taken. She steals money like $100 from the dude, and then takes his toothbrush and dinkles it into the toilet and then puts it back on the thing. I'm like, that's the most diabolical thing of what she did. Not stealing the $100, but taking someone's toothbrush and like whooshing it in a Motel 6 toilet is diabolical. Like, you might as well have slit his throat. So anyway, we get to the next day. They both wake up. They're on the heresy. They're on their next day trip to whatever they were gonna do, and he opens his wallet and he finds out that, whoa, I don't have the $100 I had. And you're like, and so he starts accusing the girlfriend, and the girlfriend's like, I didn't take any money. Like, I have my own money. I don't need to take your own, And be more diabolical if they decided to put it in the toilet filled with piss. That is true. That is true. But we don't know what has been in there. And there could be a lot of things that have been in there. But yeah, so he's like, they never get to the bottom of like what happened to his money. Because he's like, he just thinks that she took it, the girlfriend did. So he's all mad. Anyway, they go about their day. They go see like the Grand Canyon, I assume. And as they kind of go, they, have a little fun. And then they go back to the hotel. And they talk about what they're going to do. And he's like, yeah, let's go back to Vegas. Let's I love playing craps. I haven't played craps since I've been back to Vegas. Let's go back and let's, I want to have fun. And she's like, okay, yeah, let's do what you want to do. So the next day, or that night, not the next day, that night, all of a sudden, it's the perspective of this third person again. And you're like, wait a minute. There's a third person again. And then it zooms in on the guy. And then he just gets a blade to the throat. He just flat out choking on blood, dying in front of you. And you're like, what the hell? And it cuts to the bathroom again of the girl washing her hands. The mystery girl from the street. And you're like, that's crazy. Who's filming now? Turns out it's the girlfriend, and they were in on it the whole time. What they were in on, who knows? But that was what they did, and they escaped, and that's how they do it. That's the end of that tape. And then we're back to the douchebags. So let's answer the question: how many times does the camera change hands? I counted 15. 15 times someone's grabbing a damn camera, and so that's how many times I counted. Which is a lot. But there's a lot of different... With an anthology movie, I could see that being a thing that gets counted. So, again, not how many times we cut to a different person. It was this person had a camera, and maybe it cut to a different person. That's one, because we're back to person B. But if it cuts back to person A, it doesn't count as another one. That's still the one. So, forgot to mention the minor fortune teller. Oh, that's right. There is a minor fortune teller, like a they get their little fortune read from. You put $1 in, and then it like says, "I'm gonna tell you your fortune," blah 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 blah, and then it spits out a card. That is in the. They do that also in that little scene when they're in the town seeing the donkey and whatnot. Okay, so we cut back, and we're back. Those fortune tellers are a scam. In your opinion. Oh, okay. I'm glad. I don't know if that's just your opinion. So we cut back to the douchebags that are trying to rob the house to find that mystery tape. And we cut back, and the guy that was just watching the tape, and it's a shot of him watching the tape because he put the camera up, and then he put the tape in and whatnot. Behind him was where the dead guy was. Or who we thought was dead, because now that chair is empty. But we'll get back to that in a second. So that happens. We cut back downstairs to we get another tape. Sorry, never mind. So that guy decides, hey, I'm going to put another tape in. He puts another tape in. And now we are on what seems to be what's it here? What are about as far as I went in the movie? Oh, okay. So this next one. So let me ask you this one. How many times do you think the camera gets dropped? How many times do you think the camera gets dropped? Man was focused in watching that tape. He forgot to watch the dead person. Yes, Foxy. That's exactly what happened. So, how many times do you think the camera get dropped? We'll get that. I counted. Overall, in the entire movie, how many times do you think the camera gets dropped? Okay, so the next one is this road trip of 4 people. I'm going to refer to him as Jock, Glasses, Blonde, and brown-haired girl. That's how we're going to do it. So brown-haired girl, Jock, are in the front. So brown-haired girl is driving. Jock is in the passenger seat. And then you have the blonde in the back seat with Glasses. They are going on a road trip to this lake. That's where they're at. And there's an ad for those people that do have an ad. So remember, use your Prime membership. No, I'm just joking. You don't have to do any of that. But for those that are watching on YouTube, you hopefully didn't get an ad. You probably did, because YouTube's probably going to do that anyway. So I don't know. You probably got an ad before this. But welcome back. It says my community is back, so welcome back. So now we are in our next film or next tape, and it's this road trip thing, and they're going on, and it seems like, you know, the blonde's kind of the bimbo, but not an idiot. And then you have the jock, who's kind of an idiot. Glasses, who is also kind of an idiot, and then the brown-haired girl, who seems a little off. You find out that they talk to, as they're kind of talking, the blonde-haired girl says, hey, you promised this to be a girls' trip, but then you invited these 2 idiots. And then the jock, who seems to be kind of wanting to be the boyfriend of the scenario of the brown-haired girl, he says, that's crazy, because you said it was supposed to be a you and I trip, and then you invited her. So why is that? And people be dropping stuff a lot or not much, which is why my answer is 5 or 10 times. Okay, that's quite a range, but I'll accept it. So yeah, it's kind of weird, because it's like, why did she tell 2 different people 2 different answers? We'll find that out. So they go out into the woods, and they're like walking around. They're trying to get to the lake. But as they're getting there, the jock has the camera, and he shines his light at this wall that the brown-haired girl has pointed out. And all of a sudden, this weird glitch happens where it looks like someone got murdered. And you're like, whoa! And then it cuts away, and you're like, what? Well, that was weird. What was that? And so then they go about their day, and they're like, all right, blah, 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 blah. They start walking through the woods again. And as they're kind of walking through the woods, all of a sudden the brown-haired girl, she goes, you know, you're all going to die out here. And you're like, okay, that's joking or not, not an appropriate time to be saying something like that. So they move on. And as they get to the lake, they finally make it there. And they sit around, they're smoking weed and whatever. And the blonde-haired gal and the Glasses decide they're going to walk off, and they just walk off. Out of nowhere, while Jock decides to strip butt naked and jump into the lake and go skinny dipping. So as that's happening, blonde-haired gal and Glasses, blonde-haired gal says to Glasses, hey, look, I have a new routine you're going to do. You're going to get the exclusive blah, 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 blah. But then you notice there's like a glitch going on in the background of the camera. But it's not the whole screen. It's just like a little fuzzy part moving. And then all of a sudden, the blonde-haired girl gets a knife through her eye, and she is dead. And then Glasses dies in that process as well, where this fuzzy blob kills Glasses. So then, the camera seems to be abandoned. No. Brown-haired gal finds the camera, picks it up, and takes it back to the lake, and then asks the jock, do you want to fuck? And that was kind of like weird. And he's like, I don't know. And also, what was the thing that you were saying that we were all going to die? Like, that was kind of weird that you said that. And she's like, oh yeah, I've been here and this and that, da-da-da-da-da. And then he starts talking. And as that's happening, you see this fuzzy thing coming closer and closer into frame, getting closer to him, and then he gets his throat slit. And you're like, but then she says, how come I can't capture you on camera? So, something weird is happening. It seems that this figure cannot be seen on camera, but can be seen in real life. And it's like all fuzzy and glitchy. And so she has apparently, you find out also in the dialogue that is being exchanged, she lost her friends beforehand. Like people died there already. So she coaxed these three to come out so she can bait this guy, this murderer, to come back out. And that's how things are happening. She is now like, these guys are all dead. She finally found him, and she set traps all in the woods to capture him. And she's like, wait, how come you're still not showing up on camera? Like, blah, 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 blah. And, but it's this fuzzy bit. That's what keeps moving around. You can tell where it's at, but you can't see his face. You can't see the body or whatever. And then she eventually triggers a trap to slam into his face, and you're like, okay, she won. She died. The thing died. And then as she's like walking away, she gets stabbed and killed, and then she gets her whole insides ripped out of her. And that lovely scene is the last part we see, and we go back to the house. So that is the end of that vignette and in that tape. So a reverse ghost, kind of. So is it a vampire hunting them? I don't know. You never really find out. You just think it's some anomaly, like some maybe demon creature, murderer, slasher thing. Like, it was essentially like if Jason could only be seen by the naked eye, but when you held a camera up to him, it got all distorted and you actually can't form what it actually is. You just see there's a figure coming towards you. So, how many times does the camera get dropped? I counted 13 times in this entire movie. So, they do have the drop trope in this movie quite a few times. So, anyway, we're back to the douchebags. And they're in the house. They're looking for that tape still. And it's now down to 2 people, I believe, in the rest of this situation. Or no, 3 people are left. Everyone else is, they started with 5 douchebags. We're down to 3 douchebags. So the one of them sits down as the other guy's like, I'll be back. I'm going to go look for the other guys. So he sits there and he watches this other tape, which turns out it is a webcam. That's how it is. Makes me think of a vampire just because you can't see it in mirrors. It might be it. It might have been a vampire, yeah. So my next thing, I'm curious to see what you guys guess, is how many times does the footage malfunction? So where it like goes, it does the whole white noise, or it goes blue, or does whatever. How many times does it malfunction? I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a lot. So there you go. Okay, we got 30 and 37. I'll tell you that. How many times I counted, and I think I even undercounted. So, but we'll see. So this next one is a webcam scenario. It is a girl and a guy talking, and the girl is in an apartment, and the guy seems like he's in a hotel somewhere else, trying to do something for school or whatever. Or he lives in another state. He lives in Michigan, and she lives in some other place. So as they're talking, they're in a relationship of some sort, and she starts talking about like, oh, I have a bruise on my arm and it's kind of weird, and like I don't know what to do, and I keep waking up with them, and what's happening, and this and that and the other deal. And so the guy's trying to figure out like, okay, what could be happening? Like, why are things happening? And so as she's explaining, she starts talking about some her day and whatever, and she kind of goes on, and then one night she goes, wait a minute, I hear something. Can you like, and the guy's like, okay. He's like shirtless, like he just woke up and it's late at night and whatever. And she's like, okay, just hold on. Let me see if there's anything. And she goes out into the living room. She looks around. She doesn't see anything. She's like, all right, well, I swear I heard someone out there. She comes back into her bedroom and she puts the laptop on the bed, and the laptop is pointed towards the door that is now wide open. All of a sudden, some little kid runs into the room and then grabs the door handle and closes the door, and she just sits there and is like, I can't believe it. And then that's the end of the night. We go to the next morning, and she's like, yeah, something, my arm still itches. I don't know what's going on. And the guy's like, you need to cut that out. You need to stop doing that. Leave your arm alone. And then it goes to the next night, and she's like, all right, I hear something again. So she picks up the laptop and she carries it out into the living room, and she's like, oh, I don't have a flashlight or whatever. So she grabs a camera, and so she starts taking the pictures to ignite the flash. And so as she's igniting the flash, there seems to be an empty room. And then all of a sudden, she hits the flash one more time, and there's a kid sitting crisscross applesauce like on the floor in the living room. And then she runs back into her room and says like, oh, were you recording that? Like, you da 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 da. And the guy's like, no, I wasn't recording that, and this and that. Foxy says, that laptop going to be dropped and it's going to break. You would think, but we'll find out. So anyway, it's the next morning, and she's talking with the guy, and she's fiddling around with something, and you're like, what's she messing with? And he even asks, he's like, what are you doing? And then she lifts up her arm, and she's like digging in with a like scalpel or like little pincer, like things you pull like nose hairs with, into her arm, like not even reacting to it. You're, what the heck are you doing? So that happens and is disturbing, and the guy's like, stop doing that, like go into the bathroom and clean yourself off. And so she's like, all right, fine, whatever. So she does that. The next night, she's talking with him, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna show I'm gonna show the camera, but I don't want to, like, I'm gonna close my eyes so I don't run away. And so he's like, all right, fine. So he's looking through the laptop to see if there's anybody there. And then he finds, like, she's like looking around the living room, and she's like, hey, do you see anything? Do you see anything? And he's like, no, I don't see anything. And then she turns to like behind her to like show herself, just like a normal webcam. So now she has the laptop like this to her, and he's like, there's something behind you. And then she turns around, and it's two kids, and they like essentially sound wave her to unconsciousness. She drops the laptop. It's still just kind of normal, and it's just showing her laying face down. The two kids are looking at her, and then all of a sudden he goes away from the bottom screen because it's like a webcam. You have your little screen of you and then the big screen of her. Well, he leaves that cam, and you're like, what the hell? Where did he go? The door opens to the living room, and it's him. And he is there. And then from behind, at least I think does he? I got to see how he does this, because I thought he just lifts her back of her shirt. Yeah, he does. This is what's weird to me. So she's laying face down. He takes a scalpel, and he cuts down her spine, and then just really just gets in there, finds whatever he was about to find, pulls it out, and it's like a fetus. And you're like, what the hell? I didn't know they came out from back that way. And so, it's just like a fetus. And then he says, how much longer do I have to keep doing this? And blah, 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 this and that and the other deal. And then he takes the fetus, and then he hands it to the kids, who are speaking like this sort of like alien sort of talk. And he's like, okay, fine, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then he turns off the camera. And that's essentially the end of that. Cut to the next morning. She looks like a mess. She has like a broken arm. She has a black eye. And like the way that she is told and what she believes is she had like a psychotic episode, ran out into the street, and got hit by a car. That's the story she has in her mind. Preacher said, sounds like someone from Girl on the Third Floor. I've never seen that. And then Preacher also said, I'm so glad I stopped watching when I did. That would have fucked me. And then Foxy says, demon talk. Yeah, it was kind of like a weird, like, it wasn't like deep. It was like, thing. Like just kids talking. So anyway, so that happens, and then it goes. She seems super convinced that she is just paranoid and psychotic, and then she thanks him for like staying with her because she's crazy and he could easily leave, and it's like, all right, whatever. So then it cuts away, and it cuts to a new camera, like a new girl, and it's the same guy talking, and it starts the exact same way. Oh, my arms, I've been getting a lot of bruises and this and that and blah 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 blah. And he's like, oh well, you don't touch it too often and blah blah blah. And then that's the end of that tape. So that is that. If he is being pulled, would have messed me up because of me being soon to be dead. Yeah, I mean I could see that. Yeah, it's definitely it's weird because you're like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It was more weird, not like, I mean, it was gross because he was essentially fisting her back spine, but you're like, what is going on? You're like more confused than like grossed out at that point. But anyway, yeah, so we're now back to the douchebags because that film is now, that tape is ended. So, how many times did the footage get malfunctioned? I counted 111 times that there was some sort of weird distortion, little pixelated something, and I feel like I undercounted. So I counted 111 times. So the next one is, how many deaths do you think happened in the movie? And I think I actually missed. I counted on-screen death. So how many times do you think on screen they died? Or they disappeared into nothing, which assumably you could assume they died. That's how me and Preacher weren't even close. Yeah, yeah, with 30 and 37. I think in a normal movie you probably would have been close, but we'll see because there's plenty more. But anyway, how many times do you think people died? So we're back to the douchebags, and it's down to one guy. He's one guy left. And he decides, okay, I'm going to take this camera and I'm going to walk downstairs because where the hell is everybody? And he goes downstairs and he sees his buddy is decapitated, just sitting there. And you're like, and he laughs because he thinks it's a prank. And then he turns around and it's the old guy and he attacks him. And you could presume that he is dead. So then we cut to our last tape. This is the last tape. And it starts off with four buddies, and they are, they're just, it starts with them just having a fun time, and then it cuts to them with one of the buddies, who I will call Bear, because it is Halloween, and they are dressed as different characters. So we have a pirate, we have a soldier, we have a bear, and then I can't remember what the other guy is, so we'll get to that when he shows up on screen. But Bear is the camera guy. So that's how we're going to go there. So it's October 31st, 1998. The reason why I know is because it says it in the bottom corner because it's on a tape. And so they're like, all right, cool. We're going to a party, blah, blah, blah. They hop into the car. Bear hops into the car, and the other three are already there. And they decide to drive to the house that they think is going to be a party. As they're driving, they see they're driving through town. They pass a train, and they get across the train. They're trying to look for the streets. They're like, where's the street? They all have M's that start with it. They're like, what the hell's going on? Then they finally feel like they found the right street. So they park. They grab their bag of beer and whatever, and they head up to the house. And as they head up to the house, they start to realize, like, where the hell is everybody? So they go to the front door, and they look around in there, and they're like, I don't see anyone in there. Where the hell is everybody? They're like, oh, they're probably in the back. So they decide, all right, let's head in the back. So all four of them decide to walk to the back door. And they don't see anybody. And they're like, what the hell? Where is everyone? So then they go down and they try to figure out, like, okay, maybe it's somewhere else. So they do eventually find a way to get into the house. So they get in there, and as they walk in, they're just kind of walking around, and it's empty. One dies and they all scream, I bet. Well, we'll see. So they're all walking around the house, and it's just empty. There ain't no one in this house. And they start realizing, like, it's kind of weird because they Bear goes into a room and he sees something and he's like, what? And he's like, oh no, that wasn't. And then he turns around, he looks at the stairs, and it looks like there's a woman, and then it disappears. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. And then as soon as he's about to like question what he's seeing, then the other three come into the room and they're like, oh no way, you should have saw what was in there. It looked like there were arms reaching out and grabbing us. That was crazy. So they all think, oh, it's just a Halloween house, like it's a scare thing and whatever. Foxy says, I also bet the doors will be locked and will freak out. We'll see. So as they kind of go around, they're like, where the hell do we go? Oh, the fourth guy is dressed as the Unabomber. That's because it's 1999. So anyway, he's dressed as a Unabomber. So you have the Unabomber, you have a soldier, you have a pirate, and you have a bear. That's the four buddies. So anyway, they decide, oh, there's an upstairs. Let's all go upstairs. And so they're like, all right, cool. So they head upstairs, and they're like, where the hell is everyone? And then they start to realize, like, wait a minute, what's that sound? And it sounds like there are people chanting. And they're like, wait, what? What is that? And so they go into this bathroom, and the bathroom has, like, an attic staircase inside the bathroom. It's like a door. It looks like a closet. You open it up, and then there's a staircase to the attic. Weird design, but whatever. And so they're like, okay, like, it's coming from up there. There's like people chanting. So let's go up there. So they go upstairs and they see that there are like what look to be like 3 or 4 guys up there, and there's a woman tied up, like standing tied up, and on her feet are bound together, her arms are bound like this, and they are chanting this like, you know, get down, blah, blah, you get out of here, this, that, the other deal. And then the 4 friends are like, oh, this is fun because it's like, you know, it's Halloween. So and then they start repeating what they are saying. And then the 4 upstairs guys turn around and they're like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. You need to leave. You need to leave. Get out of here. Get out of here. And as that is about to happen, all of a sudden, all hell starts happening. People are getting flung up into the roof, and the 4 friends are like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Let's get the fuck out of here. So they run down the stairs. They get down to the bottom. They are about to leave. They open up the door, and they're like, well, wait, listen. And you can hear the woman. She's screaming. Now, remember, there were 4 other dudes up there. So they're like, they think, oh, we need to save her because we don't know what those guys are doing. So they decide, all right, let's go back up. So they run back upstairs to try and save her, and they start attacking the 4 dudes that were up there start attacking them. I'm like, hey, you can't take her. You can't do this, that, and the other. And once one guy gets Bear to the floor, he gets flung up into the ceiling and is taken away to wherever. I don't know. We don't see where he goes. So then they finally go to the woman that's tied up. They get a knife. They cut it. They cut the rope. They get her free. And then they bring her downstairs. They try to get her out. But as they're about to leave, the door handles start disappearing. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And so then all of a sudden, the doors start floating off and are like about like inside the house. The doors are floating off their hinges and are getting flung across the room. Dishes are getting flung at them. And then all of a sudden, arms start reaching out from the walls. And they're like, what the hell's happening? So they go down to the basement, and they try to find a way to get out there. They do, and they leave, and then they get to their car. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And they notice that she's stabbed. And they're like, oh, shit, we got to get her in the car. We got to take her to the hospital. So they get her into the car. They have no idea where they're at to begin with. So they're like, all right, look at the map. We got to figure it out. We got to figure out where we're at. And they're like, I don't know where the fuck we are. So then they get across to the they start driving around. They start getting to where they were originally to get to the house. And all of a sudden the car starts not working. It starts stalling and it stops. And they're like, what the fuck? We need to get the fuck out of here. Get us going. And he's like, I can't go. The car's busted down and this and that. And then all of a sudden the camera has a malfunction, and then the woman disappears from the middle of where Bear and the pirate were sitting at. And then all of a sudden, they look out into the front of the car. She's standing in front of the car, and they're like, what the hell is happening? We need to get out of here. And so they are like freaking out. They're like, unlock the door. Unlock the door. Unlock the fucking door. And they can't get the door to open. And then all of a sudden, you notice where they're at. And you see a bright light coming at them very fast. Come to find out, they're stuck on train tracks. And they can't get out. And then as soon as they're about to like try to get out of there, the camera cuts and the movie is over. And that is the end of VHS. So how many people died in this movie? I counted 18. I think I may have been too shy. I couldn't remember if I counted them or not. But I counted 18 people died in the movie. So overall rating. I will get to that in a second. But let's take a look at some IMDb, at the IMDb Corner, which is a lifelong thing that MovieKombat has done, where we take a look at some fun facts, some trivia, and some things that you may or may not know about the movie. So sometimes you can find some cool stuff about it, some funny things. And so let's take a look at some trivia. And we're going to just, let's see here. So, Foxy, you said, oh, wait, before that, Preacher said, sounds like satanic shit. Oh, definitely. Definitely that. Foxy, how to make a non-ghost believer, the ghosts are real. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah. How to make them think the ghosts are actually real. Okay, so this is some trivia. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 bits of trivia here from IMDb. Let's take a look. The brick house the 3 guys break into where all the VHS tapes are located is the same house from Marble Hornets, a found footage web series on YouTube that popularized Slender Man. So that's kind of interesting. Another one is the demonic woman Lily is based on the female demon Lilith from ancient mythology. Lily seems to have talon-like feet and is briefly seen as a winged humanoid. Lily is the big-eyed girl. That's Lily. Lily resembles the female winged demon or goddess depicted in the Bernie relief, I don't know, 18th century BC. Oh my God. The relief has long been suspected to be the early depiction of Lilith. So there you go. So she's supposed to be Lilith. Didn't know that. Or if you play Diablo, there you go. Gotta be a demon if they have big eyes. Yeah. The word fuck is said 240 times. Jim, how's it going? How's it going? We are just wrapping things up with talking about the movie VHS. And, yeah. Sam and Stephanie's fortune card from the machine is in second honeymoon, alludes to the other arcs of the anthology as well as its own arc. Interesting. Maybe I have to take a look at that again. Magnolia Pictures purchased the North American rights to this film for slightly over $1 million. Wow. How am I 2-0 in my tank season? I have no idea. A lot of people getting injured is how you are getting there. Jim making reference to PTFL, our fantasy football league. All right, that is trivia from IMDb. Let's take a look at something else. Another one I like to look at is goofs. Some funny stuff. So let's see here. Let's take a look at... There's 4 of them here. We have continuity. On Amateur Nature, Patrick bursts into the bathroom totally naked when he and Clint go back to the room and Patrick falls on the bed. However, he can be seen wearing underwear. When they retreat back to the bathroom, Patrick is nude again. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Another one is revealing mistakes. In one of the first dialogues, one of the burglars asks the cameraman which tape he is recording on. Around the same time, the irregular cuts to the attempted sex tape start, implying that burglary is being recorded over the sex tape. However, the cuts to the sex tape always pick up very close to where they left off, even though the recordings have been usually oh, that is pretty interesting. I never thought about that. It should be like already done at some point in time, but we keep getting where it got cut off. So where was the stoppage and what was happening before that? That is interesting. Another one is on 10/31/1998, which is the last one. One of the characters, the soldier, was wearing digital camouflage pants. Digital camouflage did not come out until after 2001 and 2002. So there you go. On the 10/31/1998 segment, when the guys are heading over to the Halloween party, the cars on the highway are obviously more modern than the late 1990s, early 2000s. A Ford Edge is also visible. Okay, I guess there's little hard things going on there, but that's kind of funny. Okay, and let's look at. Do they have taglines? Taglines is one of my favorite things to look at, but I don't see. Oh, they do. Taglines. There's only one. It is. So, movie poster. A tagline is something you would put on like a movie poster. The one tagline they have is, "This collection is killer." There you go. That's it. All right. Well, with that said, I guess we can go with the release dates. It was released, interestingly enough. Okay, no, that is right. Okay. So, Sundance Film Festival, January 22nd, 2012, and then it got a whole bunch of film festivals. But 2012 was the what I'm seeing here for the United States. Yep, DED Dead. And then also known as 10/31/98. Weird. So they actually had that as like another name before they went with VHS. So. Okay, well, that is it. That is VHS. That will complete it. My final score of VHS, I'm going to give it a 6.6 out of 10. I think it is a 6.6 out of 10. That is the official Primal Target review. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think that it's like, I mean, it's a low budget movie. I think the anthology does tell a very good, like, consistent story. Like, it has the douchebags that are trying to find the tape, and then it has its little vignettes. And the vignettes are actually not bad. Like, I've seen bad vignettes. I've seen ABCs of Death, okay? There's some really bad ones. There's some outrageous ones. And then there's not so bad ones. This one consistently has not too bad of vignettes, little stories. So, with that said, the official PT seal is giving it a 6.6 out of 10. But with the new revamped MovieKombat, we now have a PT Nation score. It's kind of like a Rotten Tomatoes thing. So, what do you guys think of it? And we're getting, from Foxy and from Preacher, 5 out of 10. So, the official PT Nation rating is 5 out of 10. And that will conclude MovieKombat, with me finally saying thank you guys so much for watching if you watched the YouTube version of this, and thank you for listening if you're listening to the audio version. Make sure you check out the live recording of this on twitch.tv/primal_target. And then, if you guys want to watch the next movie, well, here it is. The next movie that we will be watching is VHS 2. It is very simple, and it is available on Hulu and Peacock as of right now. I don't know what it will be by the time you're listening to this, but it is available on those platforms. So that will be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. And remember to subscribe to us wherever we are on. And thank you. Come again. Goodbye.
Like, coming from like where we grew up, where like the competition between PlayStation and Xbox, Sony and Microsoft was so like prevalent. I mean, even still to some sort today, uh, it's weird to see that Xbox is the only one trying to branch out and do other shit,
Yeah.
trying to like expand like its reach. It sounds really